I'm going to mix some colours now to paint the ground in, right from the middle distance towards the foreground. So starting with some of that nice autumn colour, Oriolin and burnt sienna. Create a bit of variety in the red. I'm going to mix some raw sienna and burnt sienna with a bit more burnt sienna in it this time so that it's redder. I want a green as well, Oriolin and cobalt blue. I'm going to add a little touch of raw sienna to that. Makes it a sort of softer green, almost like an olive green. There's quite a lot of shadow across the ground, so I'm taking ultramarine and rose madder. And I'm adding a bit of burnt sienna to that. Okay, so I'll make sure I've got a clean brush before I pick up the mixture of Oriolin and burnt sienna. I don't need to worry about the large trees, they've still got masking fluid on them. I just need to be careful I don't smudge those silver birches there that I put in a few moments ago. Just painting round those. Still working with the Oriolin and burnt sienna. Stopping short of the path and then continuing the other side of the path. Now a bit of the redder version. This is the raw sienna and burnt sienna. Bring it in, remembering to leave some white paper to represent the path. And now introducing a touch of green as well. Let that green merge in with your orange. Bringing the green right down, taking it back up into one or two of the areas with that orangey colour to let it merge and mix. Introduce a touch more orange towards the foreground. Doesn't really matter at this stage whether you use the Oriolin and burnt sienna or the raw sienna and burnt sienna. It's all going to match in. Concentrating on more of the point of the brush as we get to the path. And then straight away before it dries, I'm picking up a touch of that purpley brown colour and introducing that more or less into the foreground area. It darkens the foreground as well a touch. Helps to bring it forward. Now it's a case of repeating that across at the right hand side of the path. Now looking at that, while it's still wet, I think it needs a little bit more warmth, a little bit of brown. So I'm going to add a touch of burnt sienna to that purple grey mixture to make it a bit redder, and add a touch of that into the foreground just before it dries. A few little marks with the tip of the brush to pick out the edge of the path, and we just need to leave that stage to dry. Well, the background's now completely dry, and I've taken the masking fluid off the large trees on the left hand side and the large trees on the right hand side. So we'll start with the ones on the left with the raw sienna and burnt sienna. I'm going to run that all the way up the tree trunk, add a touch of water to it. Right to where it meets the ground. We'll soften it into the ground a bit later on. Now a little touch of green. Again, I've got to remember that the light's coming from the right hand side, so I'm working the colours getting darker towards the left hand side of the trunk. Bit of the purple colour now. This is the ultramarine and rose madder. I think we'll have a touch of warmth in there as well. I've got a little bit of burnt sienna here and I'm dropping that in. And then with that rich dark brown, burnt sienna and ultramarine, I'm concentrating the darkest colour pretty much at the left hand side of the trunk away from the light. I'm going to clean the brush. I've cleaned it up and taken most of the moisture off so it's just damp, and I'm going to just lift a little bit of colour out on the right hand side of the trunk. just to increase the look of light on there. And now it's the exact same procedure for the next tree. So while these trees on the left hand side are drying, I can move right over to the right and paint these silver birches in. I've got the number 10 brush and I want some more of that nice warm purple colour. French ultramarine and rose madder. Quite dilute. Got to remember that these are quite light, so I want to be able to see the white paper underneath the washers. A little bit of warm colour for the top of the tree. That's a bit of raw sienna and burnt sienna. And I'm going to start by dampening the whole trunk with clean water. Taking care to stick to that shape. Now a little bit of the purple colour, concentrating that more towards the left of the trunk. And then a little touch of the orangey brown colour, just to put a bit of warmth in one or two places. Less is more with these, we don't want to overdo it. And then I'm going to repeat that procedure on the next one. Now both these large trees on the right and the left need a bit of dry brushwork to put a bit more detail into them, but we'll just wait for them to dry.